The chart is only as good as the workspace you read it on. You can know every pattern, every indicator, and every volume rule we have covered, and still feel slow and scattered if your tools are working against you. So today we step away from theory and set up your cockpit using TradingView, the charting platform that millions of traders and investors actually use. This is part one of getting it to work for you, turning a blank chart into a calm, organized dashboard that makes good decisions easier and bad habits harder. By the end, the platform will be doing some of the watching, so you do not have to stare at screens all day. First, a quick word on what TradingView even is, in case it is new to you. It is a charting platform you open right in your web browser, no install required, with a free tier that is generous enough for almost everyone learning. It gives you clean, fast charts on stocks, indexes, crypto, and more, plus the drawing tools, indicators, alerts, and watch lists we are about to explore. Think of it as the cockpit where everything you have learned in this series finally comes together in one place. Let's start by setting up a clean default chart, because you only want to do this once. Switch your chart to candlesticks, the format we learned to read, so every bar shows you open, high, low, and close at a glance. Turn on a logarithmic price scale, which spaces percentage moves evenly and keeps long-term charts honest, especially for stocks that have grown many times over. Pick a clean theme, light or dark, with a calm background and clear colors, and resist the urge to clutter it. A simple, consistent chart is one you can read in a second, and reading fast and calmly is the whole point. Next, build your watch lists, which are simply the lists of stocks you want to follow. Instead of hunting for tickers one by one, you group them, perhaps one list for stocks you own, one for stocks you're studying, and one for the broad indexes you track for the market's mood. TradingView lets you color code and flag each symbol, so a glance tells you which names are hot, which you're waiting on, and which you've already acted on. An organized watch list is the difference between calmly monitoring a handful of ideas and frantically chasing whatever scrolls past on social media. Now here is a feature that feels advanced but is genuinely useful: the multi-chart layout. TradingView lets you show the same stock on several time frames side by side, the daily, the weekly, and the hourly all at once. Remember how we said you should always establish the big trend before zooming in? With a multi-chart layout, you see the big picture and the close-up together in one screen without flipping back and forth. The long-term chart sets your direction, and a short-term chart helps you time your entry. And now they are talking to each other in real time. Once your chart looks the way you like, save it. TradingView lets you save indicator templates, so your favorite setup, maybe a moving average, the relative strength index, and volume, loads with a single click instead of being rebuilt every time. You can save whole chart layouts too, drawings and all. This sounds like a small thing, but it matters because friction is the enemy of good habits. When your perfect analysis setup is one click away, you actually use it every time instead of cutting corners when you're busy. Let's talk about the drawing tools, because this is where analysis becomes visual and permanent. You can draw a trend line along a series of higher lows, and it stays on the chart, updating as new price comes in. You can drop horizontal lines at the support and resistance zones we studied, marking the floors and ceilings that matter for each stock. Because these drawings are saved with your layout, your hard-won analysis is still there next week, instead of living only in your memory. The chart becomes a notebook you keep adding to. Now for my favorite tool, and the one that ties straight back to our last lesson on risk. TradingView has a long position and short position tool. You click your entry, drag to your stop loss, and drag to your target, and it instantly draws the whole trade as a shaded box, showing your risk in red, your reward in green, and the exact risk-to-reward ratio as a number. Everything we said about position sizing and stops in the previous episode, this tool makes visual and obvious before you ever commit a dollar. If the green reward zone is not clearly bigger than the red risk zone, you can see the bad trade at a glance and simply pass. Here is the feature that genuinely changes how you live with the market: alerts. Instead of watching a chart for hours waiting for something to happen, you set an alert and walk away. You can have TradingView notify you when a price crosses a level, when volume spikes unusually, or even when price touches one of your trend lines. This is a quiet superpower for a calmer life. The platform watches the market patiently and pings you only when your specific condition is met, which protects you from both boredom and the temptation to fiddle with trades that are working fine. Finally, 2 tools for getting better without risking a cent. The first is bar replay, which lets you rewind any chart to a past date and step forward 1 bar at a time. So you can practice reading a chart as if it were unfolding live, with the future hidden. It is the closest thing to a flight simulator for chart reading. The second is paper trading, placing pretend trades with fake money inside the platform. So you can test your whole process, your checklist, your stops, your sizing, before a single real dollar is on the line. Serious beginner's practice here for months, and it is the cheapest tuition you will ever pay. There's one more corner of the platform worth opening before we stop, the stock screener. A screener lets you filter thousands of stocks down to just the ones that meet your rules, perhaps a certain sector, a price above its long-moving average, or a fresh volume spike like the ones we studied last time. Instead of randomly browsing, you describe the kind of setup you're hunting for, and the screener hands you a short, focused list to actually analyze. Pair that with the built-in economic calendar and news feed, and the same window that shows your charts also tells you when an earnings report or a big announcement is due, so you're never blindsided by an event you could have seen coming. None of this replaces judgment, but it does point your limited attention at the few charts that are worth your time. But let's keep all of this in honest proportion, the way we always do. These tools are wonderful, and they will make you a faster, calmer, more organized chart reader. What they will not do is turn trading into easy money. No layout, no alert, and no replay tool changes the hard truth that consistently beating the market by trading is rare and difficult, even for professionals with far better tools than these. The smartest use of a platform like this, for most people, is not constant trading at all. It is learning, setting a few patient alerts, and building the discipline to wait. And so we land where we always land. For the vast majority of people, a broad, low-cost index fund bought steadily still beats the trading game and needs none of these features to do its quiet work. But if you're going to read charts at all, you may as well read them on a clean, well-organized workspace, with the platform doing the watching and your wrist drawn out in front of you before you act. Use these tools to learn and to stay disciplined, not to trade more. So remember where we started. The chart is only as good as the workspace you read it on, and now you can build a workspace that keeps you calm, organized, and honest about your risk. Set it up once, let the alerts watch for you, practice on replay before you ever risk real money, and you'll be a far steadier reader than someone squinting at a messy screen all day. I'll see you in the next one for part 2. Until then, keep it simple, let your tools do the watching, and spend your energy on patience instead of clicks.